Hey, Mr. B, what is this white paper which has been released today? I've had so many questions about this in our emails, DMs, everywhere.
I'm sure a lot of people are waiting to understand what this is all about. So let's get into this. First of all, what is it all about? What does the Home Office want to do? And the answer to that simply is that they feel that immigration to the UK is too high. Now, the numbers that they've shared, they say 906,000 people arrived in the UK in 2023, which is damaging public services, housing, trust. So they're not happy with this. And of course, with the politics that's going on in this country and certain individuals that love to go after immigration, this has always been made one of those topics that people talk about, that people get very emotive about. So any problem in the UK has been labeled as down to immigration. Anything that is not going right with the economy, down to immigration. If schools are not doing bad, down to immigration. So that is the idea that's been taken. Unfortunate as it is, part of it is true, part of it is genuine, because we know that there's been a widespread massacre as far as the skilled worker visas are concerned. We know that care worker visas, there are a lot of people have abused it, a lot of agents got involved in this, and that is what's caused it. So those who have been following us regularly have been hearing us talking about it many times, that there is so much abuse in these things. Don't go to these agents, don't pay them money, don't try to get those things done. But people have done that for various reasons. Sometimes they have been very desperate, and sometimes they just want to take a shortcut. And this is what is the result of that. So people have to take responsibility for this as well, that they force the government's hand on this.
Okay, so let's start off with that skilled worker visas category, and could you give us some numbers perhaps?
Numbers. Well, before we go into numbers, the main important things to understand, the skilled worker visas, what they've started doing now, or what they've said that they are going to do, because let's not forget, this is the white paper. So let me just clarify this before people get confused about it. The white paper is not the law. The white paper is a consultation. This is where they lay down the intent of what they want to do. That intent is then translated into consultations with different government departments, with different agencies, and then they will come to the final conclusions that will be made law. Once the law is made, it will be passed by Parliament, and once the Parliament has passed it, it will become law and operative. So once it becomes operative, that is where the application starts. So right now, today, tomorrow, if the white paper has been issued today, it doesn't mean from tomorrow all these changes come into effect. So these will come in later. So first things first, what they've said, skilled workers, 180 different occupations have been taken out, because now what they're saying is that the only people who will be able to get skilled worker visas are those on graduate level jobs. Right. So previously, it used to be that A-levels kind of levels were enough, and now it's not. So what they've said is that they're going to remove 180 occupations from that. Salary threshold has been increased to, well, it's been already increased to 38,700. And now what they're saying is that this will be reviewed soon. And if it is reviewed soon, some reports are suggesting that it may be as high as 45,000 to just get started. So that's what's coming. As far as discounts were concerned, already the shortage occupation list was taken away. So now what they're saying is that the 20% salary discount for shortage roles and the immigration salary list will be abolished. So that is going to go as well. Dependents, more restrictions on bringing dependents. So you saw in July, I think March 2024, they placed restrictions on students bringing dependents, on care workers bringing dependents with them. Now these categories are going to be expanded. So more categories are going to be included in this, where you are not allowed to bring dependents. As far as health and care visa routes are concerned, they are going to be closed. Completely closed to overseas people. So no new applicants from overseas outside the UK will be able to apply for it. But those, and this is for those who are already in the country, please don't worry. You will have the chance to apply for extensions up till 2028. So we're 2025. They've given you 3 years. In 2028, once your 3 years are completing, you can apply for an extension and get your 5 years and still get your settlement on that basis. But no new health and care applicants from overseas.
Wow, okay, let's talk about students now. So what's the crackdown on them?
Well, lots of things happening there as well. Now what they're saying is only top ranking universities, which are the global rank of up to the global rank of 600, will be able to get these. Otherwise, if you are not ranked in the top 600 universities in the world, then there will be additional scrutiny. What that additional scrutiny will be, I can only imagine that they're going to make it very, very hard for people to apply. Dependents will be restricted. Only students on PhD or research-based courses will be allowed to bring dependents with them. And the language tests and compliance metrics. Now, course enrollment must hit 95% and completion rates 90% to retain sponsor status. So this is for those universities, or not universities, I'd say those colleges, more of those colleges, which are the small institutions, which would get people to come over and get their student visas on the basis of their sponsorship. So if they want to retain their sponsorships, they will need to show completion rates of at least 90%, and enrollment must hit 95% or more for it to be applicable. So yeah, students are going to get the brunt of it. What they're also saying is that they're going to add a 6% additional charge on student fees. So international students, there'll be an additional 6% on that.
Right, even higher than they are. Okay.
Absolutely.
I know there's lots more talk about family migration and there's much tougher requirements. Can you talk about that, please?
Family migration, the main important thing that people immediately got worried about, and I got a lot of calls on that, were about their financial requirements to be met. Is it still 29,000 or is it going to go up? Now, those who remember, this used to be 18,600, and this was increased in 2024 by the previous government. Now, this government has so far held it at 29,000. The previous government had already announced that it was going to go up to 38,700 in line with the skilled worker visas. We have no confirmation whether that is going to happen, but it may happen. They may increase it. Right now, they have not said what it is going to be, but likely to increase. The other thing that they've done is the English language requirement. So what they're saying is that all adult dependents, now note, currently, if somebody is a dependent, they would not have to pass an English test. Only the main applicant had to pass the English test. Now what they're saying is that all dependents will have to pass the English test as well.
At what level?
Okay, at A1 level. So that has been, well, for the dependents who are coming on spouse visas, this has always been there. But for other categories, they are introducing this as well. Now, what they are saying is that the progression to A2 and B2 is required for extensions and settlements. That's always been there already. Now, the genuine relationships, they are saying that there are going to be more stringent checks to cut down on sham marriages. I don't think that's any point anymore, but of course, the government knows better. So this used to be the case a while ago when there were a lot of abuse of these cases, but now I don't think there's as much as it used to be, but they're saying that they are going to look at the genuineness of the relationships and have more stringent checks. And then exceptional circumstances. Now, remember, when somebody can't meet the financial requirements, or they have children together, or they can't meet any other requirement, which is a technical requirement, we would always rely on exceptional circumstances.
Right.
Now, what this says, the exact wording there, these will be tightly defined to stop widespread use of human rights claims as backdoors. This saddens me. As a human rights lawyer, this saddens me, because what they're now saying is they are calling human rights cases or successes under human rights as backdoor. That's not right. It should not be like that. This is sad, because when you meet the requirements, of course you meet the requirements. The whole point of exceptional circumstances is that if there are human rights elements involved, such as children or vulnerable adults or people who cannot pass those requirements because of some technical difficulties or health difficulties, then those should come under this. And now they're calling them those backdoors, and they're saying that we are going to define them so that people are not able to use this. Unbelievable.
So what are they saying about rule enforcement?
The serious clamping down thing.
Yes.
Now, what they're saying is that they're going to bring into every single thing, they're going to bring a different kind of the clamping down. So if you're an asylum seeker, what you're doing with your asylum claim, what you have said about your asylum claim, all those will be looked at. Now, first of all, they of course start with small boat crossings. Now, small boat crossings will be criminalized, and hotel use for asylum seekers will end by 2028. New powers will target smuggling gangs. Okay, great. Now, what is this hotel things for asylum seekers? A lot of people get very upset and riled up about this
They do.
because obviously the far right kind of sentiment goes in there, and these asylum seekers come here and they're given hotels and they stay in 5-star hotels. Number one, they're not 5-star hotels. Number two, these hotels have made agreements with the government, where a room that would usually be going for 40-50 pounds a night would be lent out to the government for 150, 160, 200 pounds a night. So first of all, they should crack down on those things, but never mind, we'll just move on from there because there's nothing that we can do about it. What they're saying is that small boats coming into the UK will be criminalized, and then there are going to be the penalties introduced for that. Illegal working, expanded workplace enforcement and fast-track removals, even for non-custodial offences. And finally, the border security, digital visa systems, e-gates and tracking for overstayers and visa switchers. So at this time, when you're leaving the UK, there is no check. I'm not sure whether this announcement means that there is going to be a check when you're leaving the UK. But what they are saying is that we are going to make things a lot more tough, a lot more tight, so that we are able to catch anybody who's trying to defy these rules or trying to find a different way of doing it. But this illegal working, that is very important, because what they're saying is as soon as they find somebody, whether they're illegally working or they've committed an offense, even if it's a non-custodial offense, they want to fast track those as foreign criminals. So currently, the law says if you have been in the UK and you do not have nationality, you have indefinite leave or you have some other leave, and you have been involved in a criminal offense, only if you have been convicted of an offense which carries an imprisonment of 12 months or more will there be an automatic deportation order. Reading this white paper, it seems like they're going to make some changes to that they're going to bring more strictness into it. So even if there is a non-custodial sentence, meaning you're not sentenced to go to prison, even then they will have the powers to remove these immigrants. So that's how they're going about it.
Mr. B, a lot of our viewers are very concerned about settlement and citizenship. What are the government saying about that right now?
They're bringing in a new concept of earned citizenship and earned settlement. So what they say is that if you've been in the country for 5 years on a skilled worker visa and you have worked and you've paid your taxes, that is not enough. You haven't earned the right to be given that settlement. So there has to be something more. Now, what they have introduced or what they are suggesting is, look at this, longer settlement periods and higher English levels. So English level to pass the life in the UK test and to produce the English test at this time for settlement is B1. So they're suggesting that it should be increased from B1 to B2. That's one thing. And secondly, what they're saying is that dependents must integrate, language progression is mandatory, and those who don't meet targets may be refused extensions. So now they're bringing in those to the dependents as well, which makes it a lot more difficult to take. But what they're saying mainly is the concept of earned settlement and earned citizenship. So whatever you do is going to be taken into account, and you'll be given points for what you can use as having earned your settlement. So the total time period is going to be moving from 5 years to 10 years. So the skilled workers who are in the country, who are currently in the country, this does not affect them. This only affects the new people who will be coming under skilled worker visas, who come under that category after the law has been introduced. Suggestion right now is that it should be 10 years instead of 5 years. So if you want to apply for settlement, you have to wait for 10 years. Now, if you have done certain things, which they have no idea about right now, but will be introducing later on, if you've done certain things that might bring that time period down, then you've earned the right to have an earlier settlement. What those will be, we will just have to wait and find out.
Okay. Now, can you just briefly discuss this narrative about UK workers first and British workers 1st?
What they're saying is that, obviously, when they say no more care workers allowed, right now there is a massive gap in the country where carers are required. Hospitals need them, care homes need them, elderly dependents need them, all sorts of people need them. And carers are simply not enough. That is where so many have been coming into the country. But of course, the government's position is that because it's been abused so much, we are going to completely stop. And now the employers are going to be under a duty to train British workers who can then take up these jobs. So now this comes to the point of balancing who will be happy to get into that. Because as we know, a lot of people go on to benefits because they get more money in benefits rather than earning money. So some of them are quite happy sitting at home thinking, okay, we're just getting our benefits. Why should we work? Now, if they're not working, they're simply a burden on the state. Now, of course, they're British nationals. They are British people, so nobody can raise a finger at them. So what the government now is suggesting is that because the new care workers will be stopped from coming in, the local people will have to be trained, and therefore people will have opportunities to get into that. I hope people take these opportunities and start doing those things, because it will be better for them to get off the benefits, to get off the burden on the state, and to get into the job market. So I would actually welcome this point where the employers are going to be setting up training facilities for local people to take on these jobs. But I still think that it's completely nonsense to say that there should be a complete ban on international care workers coming in, because the country needs them. Till these people are trained, till these people are up to speed on what to do, there are no carers. So what are you going to do about those people that do not have any carers at present? That becomes a horrible thing. Now, the other thing, they're also saying employers who are not committed to UK training could lose their licenses. So that's the kind of other side that they're going to bring in. And of course, the latest thing, new labour market evidence group will oversee which industries can use immigration and on what terms. So, as they love to do, a new organization or part of the government is going to be created, the new labour market evidence group. I'm sure they'll give it an NLMEG, they'll call it. And I don't know, NMLEG? No. NLMEG? I don't know what they'll call it, but whatever, it'll become something. So, they love doing that.
Okay, Mr. B, let's summarize. What is ending?
Well, health and care visa routes are closed to all new international applicants. The shortage occupation list and salary discounts are abolished. The low wage roles like care worker will no longer be able to bring dependents. So not just the care workers, but any other people who are low wage skilled workers. And sponsorships without local training plans may be denied. So these are the kind of things that they've just introduced or just have given as an idea. Now, idea is one thing, progress is another thing, and completion is a third thing. What my problem is, during this time, there have to be some transitional arrangements for those people who need these services. And if they're not getting those services, then you're taking away something that is a must or a requirement at this stage. Bring in the new laws, no problem with that, but bring in transitional arrangements so that people who are currently in need of those can easily be transitioned into the locally trained carers, for example. But, of course, what do I know?
Okay, finally, Mr. B, what is new? And for our viewers who are very concerned, worried, upset, can you give them any hope at all?
Of course I want to give them hope, because this is, I've been doing this long enough to know that there have been many governments, successive governments, who have come up with a brilliant of white papers or ideas or consultations. Now, I also remember the time when Theresa May brought in the really horrible concept of surroundings which are inhospitable for immigrants. So those kind of things are really not necessary. They scare people. I remember at that time there were vans going around or buses going around or billboards being erected where they would say, go home, or we are coming after you, or we are watching you. If you're illegal, we're going to grab you and your children and take you away and remove you. So, that kind of thing it's a hostile environment concept that was brought in by that government. I don't think that served any good purpose. It just created that divide much more. So those people who wanted to stay away from the law did so much more than others would have if they had been welcomed and been told. I always said, and I've always said that, immigrants come in, ban them from taking any benefits, ban them from taking any social services, ban them from taking recourse to public funds. Nobody needs that. When they come from India or from Pakistan or from Africa, they're not used to having benefits. They're not used to having all of this on their plates. All they want is a decent life where they can come and work, earn a good living, look after their families, look after themselves. If just that concept was taken, none of this rubbish would be happening, because nobody would be abusing the system. Right now, the abuse is because the system in itself is broken. And because of that, people take advantage.
Yes.
Now, take away those advantages, ban it for the immigrants. People will work. Let them work. Let them pay taxes. The black economy we talk about illegal immigrants, we talk about this and that. Give them the right to work, and they will produce better things. They will also add to getting the schools and the NHS and everything on a better footing than it is now. But obviously, because they are termed as the enemy, that's why they always put themselves in a different category.
Yeah.
So they're never helping the government. They're never helping the people. So this is what needs to come in. But just the final word on this. The spouse visa, people who are married to British nationals, they are not expected to lose that 5 years. That will still remain at 5 years. This is what I'm reading in the white paper. But the skilled worker visas or any other categories which are work-related categories, they are probably going to go to 10 years for settlement. And then they will give some sort of incentives if you have done something in particular to bring that settlement period down. Otherwise, it is going to be exactly that.
Okay, well, I think that's it.
I think that's it. Okay, I hope this has been useful, and as and when something more comes up about it, of course, we'll talk about it again.
Yes.
Thank you very much.